So in 2017, my partner Uche and I, we founded Parachor Consulting. And really our goal with Parachor Consulting is to help small to mid-sized businesses take advantage of this research and development tax credit that is usually thought of for really large organizations that are developing the latest drug, or for companies whose employees wear lab coats or things like that. And, you know, after gaining an understanding of the tax code and working with this law, you know, we realized that that is not the case with the research and development tax credit. You know, the way it is written in the tax code is it's available for any company that is designing new or improved products or processes, formulas, inventions, software, techniques, within a special focus on products. Now, the one thing that's important to know is that the R&D tax credit, it had gotten started in the Economic Recovery Act of 1981. And so back then, the way the law was written, it truly was for those businesses who were developing new technologies that had never before seen. In fact, in our industry, we call that law that existed back in 1981 the discovery test. Basically, whatever you were working on, it had to be new to the world. Now, in 2003, they actually rewrote the tax code surrounding the research and development tax credit. And the important thing to note about 2003 is they actually removed this discovery test rule. So no longer did your activities have to be new to the world. It really only had to be new to you. So when that rule got taken away, it opened up the R&D tax credit to many different businesses that were not claiming it before. And so the best way to look at it is, you know, any company that is designing any sort of product, even though you may not think of it as the latest and greatest or the most brand new thing, it is new to the organization that is undertaking those activities to develop the product itself. And to relate it sort of to architecture, you know, with architecture, you know, a very poor understanding of architecture is, oh, they create these pretty buildings that are very artistic and things like that. You know, that is a very surface level understanding of what is going on in that industry. And if, you know, we've gotten the chance to work with a lot of architects, and when we interview on the projects and understand their business or your business, you know, in architecture, there is a lot of science that is being implemented in the development of these buildings. It's not just about how pretty are these buildings. It's about how do we make these buildings perform with age? How do we make these buildings ADA accessible? How do we maximize the functionality of the space for the people who are going to be using it? How do we make sure that the building is going to be weather resistant or seismic resistant, especially in California, you know, when you guys deal with seismic events over there. And so there is a development process that goes on almost every single architecture project. And then another way of looking at it is that for every single building, unless you're designing the same building over and over again, architects are inventing a new building for every single project, right? So to make a comparison to Apple making the next iPhone, right? For an architect, you know, every new building that they design is like a new iPhone, right? Apple has an understanding of how to make a phone, right? At the same time, as technology progresses, everybody is always making an improvement to it, and architects do the same exact thing. You know, building technologies increase, and just because you built it in one place before does not mean it's going to be the exact same in the next location.
Chris, could you give 2 examples? Give me one example of an activity that does qualify, then give me an example of an activity that would not qualify.
Sure. So with regards to architecture, the activities that we do like to qualify are definitely a lot of activities that go on in the very beginning of development. So maybe a lot of the conceptual planning or design development stages, activities that are undertaken in those phases of architecture where the architect is actually planning out how exactly, where exactly the building is going to be located, taking into account soil conditions, taking into account, where exactly, egress, ingress, egress, and also just general design activities with regards to the actual structure itself. And also considerations regarding, kind of like what I mentioned before, how do we make this building more weather resistant? How do we make this building perform with age? Functionality concerns. Those are all activities that are qualified. Now, so for example, I listed a lot of activities there, but there have to be some activities that don't qualify, right? So obviously activities with regards to just in general running your business, managing your personnel, those activities would not qualify. Generally the principals of the firm are going to be doing some element of design and some element of managing a business. And the elements of managing a business, that would be ultimately carved out of the qualified activity. But also in general, some projects where if you have a design already and you're just putting it in another place, maybe, you're designing a big box store or something like that, or a fast food restaurant. And by all means, there's really not much unique going on in the way of that project. Ultimately, service, professional service industry is that typically you guys all track your time using some sort of ERP system. Deltek is a very popular one. T-Sheets by QuickBooks is very popular. What you ultimately want to do is that project-based accounting is generally the way to go.